you must, in a way, if you're going to write a story, write it in your head first. You don't want to break halfway through, get stuck and feel now, how do I go on, you know? So in a way, you must have written that story in your head, the beginning, the middle, the end, the characters, the plot, whatever. You must visualize it in a way, as though it was almost like a film. You visualize it. And then, so then you put it down, then you've only got to choose the right words and sentences, because you have it in your mind. Whereas if you just start off saying, I'm going to write a story, and you have a vague idea of what you're going to write, you might run out of, you get writer's block or get stuck halfway through. So I think it's whatever you write, have it done in your head, or even make a few notes as a sort of skeleton. And then the actual writing is where you make it interesting.
Sir, has Uncle Ken ever read your books about him?
Yes, Uncle Ken, as I was telling you all about Uncle Ken.
Did the real person read the books?
The real Uncle Ken? No, he's long gone and passed away when I, unless his ghost is lurking around and going to take revenge on me like the Wraith in Ghost Trouble. No, but he wouldn't have read, he passed away even before I finished school. So, and I write about aunts and uncles. Usually when I'm at a safe distance from them, especially aunts. Aunts are more dangerous than uncles.
So did any of the people whom you wrote about read about themselves?
Oh, friends have read about, but you know, it's strange, sometimes people don't recognize themselves. People, even if you've written something about a person, might be funny or absurd, and that person reads it, you can't think, I'm not so funny or stupid, it can't be me. It's very rarely, unless you actually put the name, use the name of that person and describe in such a way that it can't be anyone else. Usually people don't recognize themselves, or they're flattered if they're told this is you and that someone should want to write about them.
So do you write about the people like us who meet you?
Like you. And
yeah,
now, I would have to see you more often. And then only then. Because, no, I sit down and write what lovely children I met, and this, I could describe this day, but I wouldn't write about you in great detail, or I'd have to know you,
yes.
See you often and regularly, to get to know a person before you want to write about them. And so sometimes I write factual pieces or autobiographical pieces, and those are real people, and I don't say nasty things usually about them. Because in general people are kind and decent, so it's not very often you meet somebody really nasty, or unpleasant. I'm trying to think of a story where I wrote of somebody who was really bad. Yes, my next story collection, which is, I said, coming out later this year. I've written a story, it's not a children's story, but I've written a story about a young man who grows up with this, I don't know, evil inbred habit of wanting to set fire to things, He becomes and a sort of an arsonist. He goes setting fire, and in the end he himself perishes in a forest fire which he's caused. So just, something psychotic, that you can be perhaps born with a sort of criminal streak, or Because somebody in there, can you be born evil? So I was thinking, can you be born evil with a criminal streak? And I thought of this person who did grow up with this tendency, which I would say is not a very sociable one, of setting fire to the school he was in, or to hotels and things like that. And
So, like, you have been writing over the ages from the time you were small. So, have you noticed any change in the way you write?
Not a great deal. My style is maybe... I was looking at the other day my first novel, The Room on the Roof, which I wrote when I was 17, 18. And I reading it, and I said, okay, I wasn't a bad writer, but I thought I had this obsession with semicolons. I said, why did I use so many semicolons? Huh? Nowadays I don't use semicolons much. Huh? I use commas. So in some subtle ways your style might change, and maybe I'm not so romantic now. When I was in my 20s, a lot of my stories like The Night Train at Deoli and others were very romantic. I was going through my romantic period, as someone in their 20s very often does. But now it's maybe I'm a little, if not cynical, but maybe I not that, bowled over that easily by. Maybe I don't write. Maybe I should be writing love stories again.
Reborn.
The Night Train was his favorite, so he was talking
School,
about...
Yeah, I wrote that when I was 22, 23. Wow. One of my early stories.
So at high school, that
At high
was
school.
the studies.
It was, it was for some time.
For ICSE,
That's
that
right.
was
It was
the
in
book,
that
and it was the first
collection.
introduction to romance. So everyone was blushing, and
And I still get asked by either people your age or younger who read the stories, so what happened to that girl? Where is she now?
right,
Did you see her again? And I said, well, if she's around, she'd be an old lady like of my age. But I didn't see her again.
So, what was the youngest age which you started writing?
The youngest?
Age.
Well, in school I think when I was in class 7 or 8, I wrote a little book about this. I was writing about my friends and things that happened in school and teachers, but I made the mistake of putting a couple of teachers in the book, and it
Got
was
in trouble.
yes, and my class master found it one day in my desk, and it was, he used to write in exercise book, and of course I was summoned to the headmaster's office next day, and what is this you've written here, and Bond, and some disparaging remarks about the principal's wife and her figure, etc. And so, so I in those days to get caned, I got only two. You weren't allowed more than 6 strokes of the cane. They weren't allowed to give, but up at 2 I got. It was a mild offence, but he tore it up. Then he said, well, you're wasting your time, I can see it. He tore up the exercise books. That was the end of my first novel.
No.
My first book. So don't write about your teachers.
So, do you think, like, when you became famous for the first time, that headmaster would be still around?
He would have been, he was no longer in the school. He got into trouble himself, actually, I'm glad to know. He got thrown out 2 years later, after I left the school, for doing something very wicked I won't talk about. But, so he might well have read it, but not that which it turned out, but my first book. He would have read The Room on the Roof, maybe. He left the country. And settled where, I think in Australia somewhere. So he would have known that I'd become a writer, yes. Unfortunately, my father died when I was 10, so he would have been pleased if I'd become a writer. Not that he was a great reader, but he was interested in everything. Yeah, he'd encouraged me to read and write, and But he was a great collector, stamp collector, and all sorts of things. Butterflies. Ask me another question.
Want to get that autograph? Book.
Yeah.
Show them the book.
That's it. That is, they recently changed the cover. This is a sort of watercolor. And your first name is?
Gyananda.
How do you spell it?
G-Y-A-N-A-D.
G-Y-A-N-A.
D-A.
D as in Delhi.
That's Gyanada. What does it mean?
It means like giver of knowledge.
Giver of knowledge. That's it.
What kind of books do you read now, sir?
All kinds. I like going back sometimes to old favorites, and or even classics sometimes. And then for light reading, I'll read detective stories, crime novels. I like reading biographies too. Biographies of interesting people, of other writers or of anyone who's done something interesting.
So, like so many interesting things happen to you, sir, in your life. So, do you think that such things can happen to everyone if they just observe things around?
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't say I've had a very exciting life, but I would focus on things and try to see the excitement, the fascination. I wrote a story about I haven't actually finished it, about a snail crossing a road. And just think how easily it could have been squashed, trucks coming, cars going. It got across the road though, because it wanted to eat some leafy vegetable on the other side. So there's fascination in every little thing if you look for it. And so absolutely everyone's life is full of of interest, excitement, of you from the morning time you wake up. There's something to you could just sit down all day and write from minute to minute what's happening, what you're listening to, well, that's in a way stream of consciousness writing. But so life need never be boring unless you make it boring. There, so I've given you a message. Be a great giver of knowledge. That's the name, your name.
Thank you, sir. Actually, for my friends.
My best friend.
For my best friend, her name is Arya.
Okay, and they are Arya.
Her name is Arya. Can you just?
A-R-Y-A.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with the other little girl who dare not go back to school without...
Can you please sign my book as well?
Yeah, of course. You're Bakul.
Bakul.
How do you spell it?
B-A-K-U-L.
B-A-K-U-L.
Send it.
Bakul. You also put your address there.